This is my flying area. In some ways it's good because I have a neighbor who lets me fly over her property. And in some ways it's bad because there's a tree. And let's see if I can zoom in on the barn. There's a barn. I'm going to zoom out again. Okay. And then over here, way back behind that flag that's waving, right in the middle there, there's a tree. Okay. And then, right here with the sun shining through it, that's a tree. So let's go. We'll call this tree number 3. And we'll call that one in the middle way back there number 2. And we'll call that tree number 1. So remember that for later in the video. Well, I would like to tell you about the durability of this airplane. I am not a good pilot. I find it easier to fly the full-size planes than the RCs, but I'm trying to learn. So I bought this at the recommendation of my son because it's a safe, it has 3 levels of learning, and I just graduated from the beginner into the intermediate, and so I feel like I'm coming along. But yesterday I crashed into tree number 3. Now if you take a look here, I'm keeping track of how many times I've crashed into a tree. I've crashed into a barn 1 time, and I've run into myself 1 time. So I'm having a lot of fun with this, but like I said, it is a durable plane. What happened with this here is when I crashed into the last tree, which is shown right there, they crashed into the tree and then it fell out and it busted this tail all the way off. So what I do, and I've also done this when I crashed another time, is I patch it. Now you can get this and this all replaced for about $13. So that's another thing about this Apprentice, is you can get parts pretty cheap. But anyway, I crashed and I learned from this accident to use, if I can just find it laying here somewhere, it's invisible. So what I have is I have some old, I don't know if you can see it or not, but I have some old overhead transparency. Nobody uses it anymore. And I used to use this in my Sunday school class. Well, I'll tell you what, you take this and you take this glue, which I got at Hobby Lobby. And by the way, overhead transparency is probably hard to get a hold of, but you can probably get clear plastic like this at Hobby Lobby. And this glue works to glue everything together, this extreme power medium. And so what I do is, if you can see, I've cut a strip of overhead transparency because this was broken right off. And the first thing I did was I glued the foam back together, and then after that dried, I put this clear strip of overhead transparency using that extreme glue, and I did it on both sides. And so this thing is ready to go back together again. Now, I'm not the neatest repairman, but I want to tell you some more about this. When I crashed into one of those trees, it jammed up in the tree, and I got a long pole. And then I pulled it out of the tree, but in the process, I ripped all of this out. Now, by the way, these wheels come off real easy. Let me show you how easy they come off. They pop right out. And so the wheels came off, but in the process, it pulled all of this out. And so I took my extreme glue and I glued it all back in, and everything is fine. So that it is a remarkable airplane as long as you have glue handy. And then also, when I crashed into the barn, I smashed up the front end of this thing pretty bad, but I glued it back together. And by the way, also, I use packing tape. Packing tape works good for a lot of things. For instance, I put packing tape on the front of on the leading edge of my wing, And you can see here, this is my last crash when I crashed into tree number 2, I guess it is. And it was going, I was bringing it in for a landing, and it was coming down full speed, and it hit that tree, and it put a little dent in there. And I'm glad that I had the packing tape on the front of that. But the packing tape can also be used for patching. So I just want you to know that this plane is a remarkable plane for beginners. I love it. I've crashed it so many times, and it just seems to keep going and going and going. And like I say, now I'm ready to put all of this back together on the tail here, and that's going to take just about 5 minutes if I can find all the screws. So I would recommend for a beginner that wants a larger plane, this is exactly what you need. And start out in beginner mode, and then when you get to where you can control it and learn how to basically fly and land, then go up to intermediate mode, which is where I am. And by the way, when it crashed into the last tree, and it fell out of the tree and it broke all of this, this is where it broke when it fell out of the tree. And so when it fell out of the tree and it broke all that stuff, when it hit the tree and this went back, it just snapped a couple of rubber bands and didn't break anything. So I'm really happy with this plane, and I would recommend it for anybody. It is a wonderful airplane, well designed. It's got the safe system in it so that you can hit the emergency switch and it'll level out. It is a super plane. So if you're looking for a good plane, this is a good plane. Just buy yourself some glue and then see if Hobby Lobby has some clear plastic and you can mend it all back together. So thanks for listening, and God bless you.